Welcome to Claws Out. This is the coach's report from the mic'd up studio here in Parramatta. It's very lonely here in the studio, Coach, but you are in your Brisbane bunker after a great weekend. It's a perfect weekend, isn't it? Your mob had a 31-18 win yesterday over Burleigh, and then the Tigers back it up a few hours later with a win over the Bulldogs.
It was a good day yesterday, so yeah, very pleased. But Magpies might not like this, but it's always nice when the Tigers get a win. And I got to watch the game, which was really good.
I had to look at the ladder. You guys are creeping up the ladder, but you've had 5 wins, 3 draws, and 3 losses. There's obviously no golden point in Queensland Cup.
No, there's no golden point. There's a reason why I wear a hat, Eddie's, because my hair has been pulled out from certain things. But yeah, no, it's been interesting. That's all I'll say.
Well, metaphorically, taking your coach's hat off for a minute, what was your main emotion as a fan watching that game yesterday or at full time? Was it relief? Was it pride? What was it?
A little bit of combativeness from me yesterday. I watched the game on my own. I'm never emotional when I'm watching the game, but when Jerome made that tackle and they lost the ball, I was very animated on my own. So, yeah, I think it's a bit of combativeness. It's the rivalry. It's us versus the Dogs. So, yeah. Look, the history, whatever Galvin is playing with them, I think the sour taste in our mouths will not leave, and there'll always be that rivalry.
Well, I just tried to put Rob Senior under the pump for 10 minutes, and he just kept. It was like he was Galvin's manager, Galvin's defender. He just kept defending him.
Hey, maybe you know what, Rob. Tonight was one of the first nights I watched the pod before.
Yep.
Doing this, and yeah, Rob was well behaved tonight. Maybe being crook is what we need of Rob.
Yeah, no, I want more fired up Rob, but he was great tonight. But last big picture thing, Coach, before we go through the game sequentially, what would Benji Marshall been most happy with in terms of the aspect of our play besides the 2 points itself?
I think it's more the belief of we are who we thought we were, as long as we've got the majority of our spine there, and in particular Uppy and Buller. Like obviously you look at certain things in regards to the habits and the intensity and the standards that they've tried to build, but it's also a reality sometimes as a coach to understand that when you don't have your leaders there, that has a big impact. And at the end of the day, the ceiling for some players is just, it's a ceiling. So they can't really perform any more better than what they have, some of them. So yeah, I think it's more for him. You'll walk away from the weekend going, okay, well, what we've built this squad, it's important we've got these guys playing.
Okay, let's get into the game. In just the second minute, Canterbury's first set, they have a good set of 6, and no surprise, I guess, Burton goes really high to Tavana, and he cops a lot of pressure but takes that first bomb. Was that a relief for you or no surprise?
It's a confidence booster for Tino. Look, the reality is, as a professional footballer, what he needed to be doing for the last how many weeks is working on that. I mean, all wingers do it. It doesn't matter whether you're the best winger under the high ball or whoever you are. That's a part of the professionalism of making sure those details in and around your roles are always covered. And I just think from his perspective, you'd like to think he's been working on it every single week and every single session, and he does it before and after training. To when he gets into that situation there on Saturday night when the first kick is put up, he's able to confidently take the catch. And what it does is it grows confidence for everyone else around him as well. So, yeah, it was a great start for the young man, wasn't it?
Well, speaking of being combative, you were very stoic about backing him, and he had 2 great games and 1 bad one. But was there a subtle change to the way he attacked or defended those bombs? A couple of them he didn't go up for, the defensive bombs, or didn't leap for as high?
No, I don't think so. I heard you guys talking about, and Rob, with Rob's expertise, talking about not catching the ball above your head. As an elite winger, you actually need to be able to catch the ball above your head, because the reality is in the modern day, if you can't get up and catch the ball high above your head, some of the taller wingers, especially when they've got momentum, are going to get above you and make those catches again look pretty ordinary. So I think it's understanding which catch for which kick and which situation, and that'll come with time and experience.
Do you think like there would have been maybe something from the coaches? Because I'll specifically mention one. I think it was late in the game. Canterbury put one up. It's only going to land about 25 out, and he actually looked around and decided to sort of let it bounce because maybe there wasn't many threats around.
I know there's a tactic from the club defensively that they do have this thing at training where they talk about sometimes letting the other team have
Yep.
a bomb if the bomb is not in a threatening position. So there could have been strategic. Obviously, we don't get to hear the comms from the sideline, but yeah, I guess that could have been one of those calls where they decided to just let them catch it or let them have the ball, I guess.
First 8 minutes, no score, but Canterbury probably firmly on top in terms of the territory. We tried to kick early a couple of times. I think there was one good kick from Jock and one average one, which went down Carraz's throat. But were you a little bit worried that first 8 or 9 minutes that Canterbury were asserting a bit of physical dominance?
Yeah, and I don't mind the tactic from Jock, but the reality is positioning of where you're starting your kick from is really important. He doesn't possess a very long kicking game, but the good kickers, what they do is they can direct us into the right parts of the field to kick from, so that there's a little bit more options. He's been kicking the ball where the ball's inside 10 metres to the sideline or about 20 to the sideline. It makes it a little bit easier to know where the direction of the kick is coming from, and it makes the kick a lot tougher, especially when when the ball's coming from his right hand side, because that's where the pressure is going to be coming from. So if he has the idea of trying to turn teams around and kick on tackle 3 and 4, which is a tactic I absolutely love, to be honest with you. I just think he needs to make sure that we get our direction towards that middle of the field so that he can kick with a little bit more of an open field.
Was that probably the theory from Benji early after 3 weeks of 40-plus scorelines? Let's attack with our defence and play it in their half?
I think it was making sure Carraz takes the first carry. He's one of the best yardage carriers in the competition. If you're kicking and he's isolated at fullback because his wingers can't be back and he's got to take that first carry, it probably takes him away from taking tackle 3 or 4. But to Carraz's credit, he actually doubled up on some sets and took double carries. So, yeah, it was probably a tactic from their perspective to, also set the standards in regards to our kick chase, but trying to nullify Carraz out of the game, and it didn't do that.
Okay, well, in the 10th minute, against the run of play, I guess, we opened the scoring. There was a simple error from Bronson Cherry, which Taruva scoops up with Tavana, and we get to 10 metres out, and Madden and Luai combine. It's a shift left. Looks like a fairly simple shift to the eye, and Makasini draws in the winger, passes to Skelton, who goes over. What did you see there?
Well, I want everybody to go back and watch that play the moment Jock passes the ball to Jerome, and then I want you to watch what Jerome does, rewind it back to when he starts, and then I want you to watch what the Canterbury defence does when he starts to do his goosey and move. Okay, because their defensive line starts with a particular amount of spacing, and then as soon as Jerome changes his tempo from slow to fast to slow again, you see Crichton start to move in and Galvin start to push in as well. So that's all created off just the back of a little bit of threat that he obviously possesses. The other thing about Jerome you got to remember is he has one of the best short kicking games in the competition. So defensively, sometimes you do sit on your heels because you don't want to get caught coming up a little bit too hard and he puts a kick in behind you. But it was great tempo, great ball movement, and Makasini does a good job to execute that in the corner.
So that
to pass
to Skelton. Yeah, I mean, I just thought looking at it live, just as a fan, I thought, well, Crichton was a little bit too far in field then, but you thought it was Jerome actually held up the defence and got him to bite in a little bit.
I think they struggled, that combination of Crichton and Galvin. I don't think Crichton trusts Galvin defensively.
Well, he doesn't trust him in challenges. We've worked that out.
Yeah, that was an interesting one. But no, look, I mean, the analytics around Galvin's defence, we've talked about it when he was with our club, so I understand why they do it. I actually think it's the reason why Crichton got moved to the right-hand side. He started the year on the left-hand side. I think he's been moved on the right-hand side specifically to help Galvin, but it hasn't worked.
All right, well, after making it 6-0, it was a much better set off the kickoff when we scored 6-0. I think we went down 75 metres from that set, and in the ensuing set, Luai actually stood up Galvin, went through the line. We don't get a try in the next 5 minutes, but it looked like Appy was starting to maybe create a little bit of space around the ruck there.
Yeah, and that's what he does, right? He keeps everybody interested. It makes sure your markers sort of have to stay engaged with him at dummy half, because if you do, lose a bit of interest in what he's doing out of dummy half, he can pull your pants down. I think there was a numerous amount of times last night where he picks a Marcus out and it was just, don't start me on Peter Goff. But that's the difference in having him at 9, isn't it?
Well, I'm going to start you on Peter Goff a little bit later, so get ready for that. But in the 17th minute, Coach, we make it 10 points to 0. It's a short side play, about 15 out, and a nice, I guess, chip bomb, you could call it, from Jock Madden. And Tavana doesn't leap as high as he usually leaps, but brings it down and shows great strength and desire to get the ball down.
Yeah, I'd be disappointed if I was Canterbury. I thought Jethro's effort was pretty poor. But yeah, it was a really good kick from Jock. He put it right on the spot. It's probably been a little bit of his weakness at the moment. His kicking hasn't been great, if we're being brutally honest. But yeah, that one was really good, and really happy for Tavana to finish that, to be honest.
In the next 5 minutes, the score remains 10-0. And some of the backs under the high ball, I mean, there's been criticism of a few of them this year. Skelton and Buller coming back in his first game back. I thought they were good under the high ball. It wasn't like they were put under huge pressure, but they were safe early in the game.
Yeah, I thought Jareem was really good under the high ball. I don't actually recall any from Skelton. I think he might have got some natural long kicks
Yep.
where he took them really well. But yeah, there wasn't any real significant kick contest, wasn't there?
No, there wasn't. 25 minutes in, we make it 16 points to nil. There was a bit of a brain explosion by Leo Thompson, who pushes the marker and gives a penalty away on the fourth tackle. And then there's a beautiful try, which is Jareem Buller, where the halves actually combine on the right-hand side from about 10 out, just outside the left post, and Jerome puts a lovely short ball onto Kai Pearce-Paul, who offloads almost without looking, knowing Jareem would be there, and he was, and it was 16-0.
Yeah, that's satisfying football from a coach's perspective. It's interesting, you talk about the Jerome situation there, but it's not so much his pass, it's his ability to change his speed. So the key with that is if you're sprinting like most players do on the back of shape and you're that sort of tail runner, if you do it too quickly when someone comes to put pressure on you, well, the collision zone is going to get a lot closer. What he actually does is his ability to catch the ball, slow his speed, and basically engage that defender to just understand that all it needs is a basic tip pass. Now, I've had conversations with people in the past for a long time about that sort of stuff, and they talk about that all he does is catch his pass. And I say, well, let me give you a big outside back coming outside in, looking to smash you, and see if you can execute that pass really well. It's actually brilliantly done from a tempo perspective, and it was perfect shape from the boys. And like I said, that would have been very satisfying from a coaching perspective.
That's an interesting point. You talk about slowing things down. Is that something you can coach, or is that just like a learnt skill, a natural thing? Because I remember there was a player called Jason Smith back in the 90s and 2000. They always used to say he's the best sort of slow player in the game by slowing things down to his speed.
It's a bit of both. You learn it on the run, but all of that is habits that you create at training. I mean, you create scenarios for the boys. You put them in positions where that sort of stuff happens. What you'll find a lot is, especially when you're at training, the coaches do much bigger jobs than you think, right? So when teams are getting prepared and the teams do a lot of opposed stuff, what you actually see is that the reserve grade side, who usually is the opposition team on a training week, they don't practice what they're going to be doing. They practice what the opposition does. As Paul Alamotti goes in the corner for
Penrith
Penrith to
leading.
make it 20 points to 18 with 10 minutes to go. But yeah, the reserve grade actually practices the attacking shape of the opposition for that week and the defensive principles they normally execute.
Steve
So
mentioned that because Steve was at Concord, I think, on Tuesday, and he said they were defending the reserve grade side was running some long sort of sweep shapes that Canterbury do because they've been quite deep in attack this year.
yeah, so that's all the scenario based stuff. So that's how you create the practice for the players and you teach them that sort of stuff. So when that sort of stuff gets thrown at them in the training and it's to someone who doesn't handle that really well, you create then other training blocks for them to be able to work on that craft in their game.
I want you to come off the top rope here, Coach. Jerome's performance, you probably say he's been great all year, but the cavalry was back yesterday. I thought he got his swagger back just in terms of on Friday. I saw he posted on Instagram him in his Tigers training shirt, and I thought maybe he needed that little bit of mental reset because if he has been copping a lot of flack from some of our fans and made that decision to go, I did think he looked a little bit down in the dumps the last few weeks, but he certainly bought it yesterday.
I mean, we'll never know. That's the truth. We'll never know what his emotions have been like. But like I said to you, the other thing I talked about prior to the bye is he did have a niggle. He wasn't training. So injury does have an impact on people. But look, the reality is, from my personal perspective, I've had no doubt, no issues with anything he's been doing performance-wise. So, yeah, yesterday didn't surprise me at all. And whatever he does for the rest of the year and next year's not going to surprise me at all as well. I know what I'm going to get from him.
And I mentioned the cavalry being back. Buller's try was the last one I mentioned. What did you make of his game, Jareem?
Well, I remember at one stage last year when Rob, what do they call it, when he crashes out and he loses his mind over things. But especially on weeks where Jareem or Appy's not playing, I talk about how important those two are for our team. What Jareem does better than anyone else at our club, and where you cannot replace him, is it's very evident how well our team is spaced defensively, how well our numbers are organised defensively. And if you want to watch it from a fan's perspective, what I ask you to do is maybe go back and watch a 15-minute period against Manly, pause it and play the ball where the camera's at a wide shot, and look at our defensive line. Try to find the same spot against Canterbury last night where a play the ball is, and try to pause it in the same spot, and you'll see what our defensive line looks like. And that is your fullback. That is his organisation. That is his confidence that he gives the players. Look, rugby league players are weird characters. Sometimes fullbacks will do jobs. It's happened to me quite a few times where players will be like, "Oh, can we get that guy back at fullback?" And I'm like, "Well, he's doing a really good job." But sometimes who you're comfortable with and who you practice with week in, week out makes a big, big difference. And that's what Jareem does for us defensively in particular.
What I was impressed with, and I guess I shouldn't be surprised because I think he's a courageous player, was just the lack of self-preservation coming off his shoulder, because it's your first game back. You know you're probably another bump away from being put away from the season, and a couple of those try saves, particularly one on Crichton, that was a huge feature of his game in his rookie season, and that try save was a real turning point in the game just before half-time.
I mean, he's known for it. I think he's been a little bit disappointed. Even the one on
Tuala?
Karaz, where he misses the tackle.
Right.
If you actually watch his reaction after the try scored, he's very angry with himself. I know he prides himself on that sort of stuff, but from a self-preservation perspective, mate, he would have had tests. Like, they would have put him through the rigors defensively at training. They do some really significant contact work to make sure that he's ready to go. So I think he would have built that confidence, over the last couple of weeks. So, yeah, once you get to game time, if you come in with off the back of an injury and you have any doubt in your mind, usually you actually aggravate it and get yourself hurt. So, yeah, you expect them to turn up feeling like he's good to go.
Well, you mentioned that miss on Karaz. That was the next score in the game. In the 36th minute, the Dogs finally make it onto the scoreboard and they make it 16-6. About 35 metres out, it's a shift right to Tupanua, who just savages the line, really, but goes straight through Makasini and Jerome, offloads to Karaz. Probably a disappointing miss there by safe half coach, and then Karaz steps Buller for the try.
Yeah, it's look, it's actually on Hamasi because that's his inside shoulder, so he's got to have better contact there. I think he tackles, sometimes he forgets he's in an NRL, which is not a bad trait because the reality is you want him to have that sort of confidence as he moves forward through the game. There's a bunker decision currently for the Warriors
To go ahead.
2018. It's gone up at no try.
Okay.
I'm not going to play the role of bunker at the moment, but it looks like it's going to stay no try, but it's going to be interesting. No, I just think that from a football perspective, sorry, I lost the question.
We're talking about the first try to Karaz when he steps
Silly.
through and he beats safe half and then beats Buller.
Yeah, so Hamasi's inside shoulder is the key there, right? So he's got to be a little bit stronger on his inside. Jerome does his job, but then when he turns out, he's got to be stronger as well with his upright contact. Safe half's missed tackle is very poor, and I don't know whether you just say that's a wonderful move from Karaz that he put on Buller, or you hold Buller to a higher standard and say, well, you got to make that tackle. But I know they'd be disappointed, but we recovered from it well because he was fantastic, Tupanua. No try, by the way.
He was an absolute wrecking ball. Is there anything like technique wise with Tamasi's technique, or is it a strength thing? Because I mean, he's been I feel a bit for him because teams are going after him, and he was beat up again last night, HIA, and then a potential shoulder injury.
Yeah, his lead shoulder, or the shoulder he tackles with, his same foot doesn't actually step forward. If you're going to drive into someone defensively like he does, you've got to have a little bit more stability in your legs and your hips. He doesn't have that, and that's because probably his size in what he's been able to do growing up, he hasn't needed it. But I also think from a technique perspective, I think he needs to just at times you've got to be balanced between stepping in, hitting someone defensively, or putting your body in front and making solid contact up top and just gripping and sometimes losing a bit of yards. But that's something he'll learn as he develops as well.
Well, we've already mentioned Jareem's try save on Crichton, but I just thought that was a huge turning point because if they had got that 6 points there and gone in at 16-12 with all the momentum, I know as in my glass half empty, I would have been worried at halftime.
I don't believe in turning points, Eddie. I think that they're potential turning points, but the reality is you'll never know. And this is my beef I have with everybody always. Like when something happens in a game of football, I think it's meant to happen,
Yep.
one. Secondly, to that, you never know what the changes it's going to make mentally. I mean, at the end of the day, we may kick off to them and they drop the ball on tackle one and we score that set. Like, you just absolutely never know about turning points. What I can tell you is it's a big moment in the sense of the confidence it boosts for your teammates when you know you've got someone at the back who, if they do that 100 more times this year, Crichton probably scores 95 out of those 100. But to be able to save that try is incredible.
There were a couple of interesting tactical decisions in the first half that Benji was forced into. Start with the one on Toa coming in. Would that just be an obvious one, given Macassini has to go off for an HIA, which takes 15 minutes, or would there still be a doubt on whether you activate that outside back on the bench?
Yeah, there would be doubt. I mean, to me, what it said to me was that the interchange plan was to use 3 of the 6 unless the other 3 were needed. And that was pretty evident because I think it was Maverick and Charlie Murray were the other 2. Usually what you do, if that happens early in the game, what you see teams do is they'll be happy to fill the gap for that little period and not use that interchange as... Oh, I thought Penrith were going to score. They butchered it with a forward pass. But yesterday it looked very clear that as soon as that happened, they put Stafford on. So to me, what that means is the interchange plan, which most teams have prior to the game, was to use Latu, Seyfarth, and Royce Hunt.
Yep.
So they were the planned changes to use whatever was needed, and the other 3 were only ever going to get used if required, and they did that change with Stafford early.
We surprised Appy was taken off after about 25 minutes because sometimes he's been playing 80 this year, but potentially maybe an injury there during his time off with suspension because Steve mentioned he didn't train much. Well, the session he was at, he didn't train at all.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I heard you guys talk about he went up the tunnel. It could have been, could
have got needle up or anything.
It could have been anything. It could have been I'll tell you how crazy it could have been. It could have been he was busting to go to the bathroom.
Yep.
Like sometimes that can actually happen, as crazy as that sounds. But to me, it probably was more so. Probably he was gassed, and the performance staff got his ratings around his GPS and his heart rate monitors and whatnot. That maybe he was a little bit gassed a little bit earlier than what he normally would be after 3 weeks out. So yeah, not sure.
Did we still handle that period? Because we spoke on clause out before the period Appy was off the field. We concede 2 tries. Is that just something that we're going to have to live with? Obviously, we're weaker without Appy out there, but potentially could happen again if he does have to play in the Origin team without Brayley.
I don't know if it's coincidental. I haven't sort of looked at it that deeply yet, but when he doesn't play and the results we have, well, sometimes you just got to sit there and not overthink it and say, well, it must not be coincidental because the reality is when he's not on the field, we concede points and we don't score points. So, yeah, it's probably something we need to have a look at. Whether that was the case yesterday, I'm not sure.
All right. Well, the first 5 minutes of the second half, Coach, there's no addition to the scoreline. It's still 16 points to 6, but they put us under the pump. They forced us in goal with a good deep bomb, and then they basically have 3 sets of 6 at us, at our line. That's when I was sort of gaining in confidence that we might be back to that mindset of defending our try line, and our defensive mentality is back, managing to hold them out basically for 18 tackles, and it was actually, ironically, it was a Galvin grubber that nearly hit the back fence that let the pressure off.
Yeah, we controlled the ruck really well. We wrestled well in that period. Again, we had good first up contact as Just FYI, he's just lost the ball. I'm distracted because
It's the
there's a
game of the
minute
year.
30 to go.
What is the actual score? I don't have a bet on this game, so I'm not distracted, but I usually would be.
I was about to start getting into commentary and calling the game. There's a 20-18 Penrith with a minute 20 to go. But Tuapiki got on the outside of McLean. It's 2-on-1, and then they've dropped the ball. So it looks like Penrith are going to get away with it. So I apologise for being a little bit
That's
distracted,
all right.
but this has actually been a quality game of football. I just think last night, and a lot of it comes down to Buller, because your defensive spacing and your defensive control and your defensive numbers and your ability to be able to not give the opposition a picture in front of them where they see there's opportunity for them to expose us can help a lot in where they actually what options they take. And to me, Jareem solved that so much last night. You can see it, and again, I'll try to help in regards to how to identify it. When teams are attacking our try line, you'll always see the fullback standing right behind the ruck. Watch Jareem, how confident, how comfortably he gets guys in the right spots very, very quickly. And what it means is when we don't have blokes sort of not coming up defensively because they're taken so long to get into their spots. And I think that makes a really big difference for us.
All right, well, despite all the resistance, Canterbury starting to come together. So they actually score again in the 47th minute. Their second try to make it 16-10. It was that wrecking ball again, Tupanua, who sort of attacks a short side. I mean, coach, he's holding the ball like a grape. He just could do anything at this stage. He offloads it to Tuala, who goes in the corner. What did you see there?
Yeah, that was poor defence, to be honest. I think it was Tito on the first one sort of misses the tackle on him. Look, I never want to be too harsh on Tito. I think that he does an admirable job. He's not a centre. In the modern day, being as small as he is, size wise, it's very difficult. It would be very difficult to defend, especially broken play stuff with big outside backs or big back rowers. So I'd never be really critical to him, but. Yeah, from my perspective, I thought he did a really good job in that moment there. I think Seafarth also misses a tackle, but you just got to bounce back from it. You're never going to be perfect defensively.
Well, apparently Canterbury were perfect with the six agains. Like, what's the go there, coach? Because like Peter Goff, I thought he did a good job in our earlier game. We had him this year against Parramatta, but. Like, I don't have a problem with us conceding six agains because I said on Clause Out, I thought at times maybe they were winning the physical battle and we're going to concede a few and we're trying to slow things down. But you're telling me Canterbury were perfect in terms of ruck infringements. I don't get that. I don't see that.
Do you remember when James Bracey asked Phil Gould
and he said no comment? Or he just said, I don't want you to get you fired, James. I think he said.
Yeah, maybe ask someone else that question. I'll
ask someone else in the studio. Unfortunately, there's no one here, so I could ask myself. But, yeah, I don't know. I just thought, what is the whole thing with the six again, though? Because, like, doesn't it annoy you as just a fan when you see two blown in Origin and a pretty good game, and then you see on Friday night Manly and Cronulla and there's 12 blown and they're blowing the pee out of it?
From what I understand, there's specific KPIs. There's specific indicators they look for to give six to go calls, right? And I think that sometimes referees, and rightfully or wrongfully, change the feel for it depending on how the game is travelling. But I don't want to get caught. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole because I'll probably lose my shit.
Fair enough. Okay, well, there was a you don't like turning points, so I won't call it a turning point, but there's a big incident in the 55th minute where it's a charge down from Curran. He runs away. He thinks he scored the try to potentially level the game up, and it's brought back, which is exactly what should have happened, Coach. He touched the leg. That's what you can't do that in the game these days. Clear no try.
Yeah, and I watched the previous pod with the boys. Look, I disagree with the boys. I think that's not a silly rule. That's actually the most important rule in regards to kickers. I think the tackle... I think there's two things with kickers that should be 100% illegal. One is when the guy's in the air, if you tackle anywhere below his hip, that puts him in a fragile position, or if you go through his kicking leg. Now, from a rules perspective, go back to last year's major semi-final, I think it was. Broncos, Canberra, Reece Walsh, extra time. It happens, right? That's just the rule. I can tell you how many guys have had broken legs, and it's not, you just can't go through his kicking leg motion. It's just too dangerous. And I'm someone who really hates some of the soft stuff they do in the game, not that one. And don't get me wrong, like it was soft, but that I think that one is a non-negotiable because it's so dangerous as a kicker of the football. I've seen guys get injured so badly, and it's one of those things that There's a guy called Tony Kane. He's the brother of Joel Kane. You go back and I think you can YouTube it.
Mm.
YouTube the video of him breaking his leg in a NRL game. Never played a game of first grade after it. You can hear the break. It's horrific.
Yeah, I think
That's
there
the
was
one.
one in
That's
State
the
Cup
one
a couple
part
of years ago. I can't remember if it was Lockie Elias or someone, but it was
It
similar with the
was.
kick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lockie Elias had a broken leg.
Yeah.
There's one that happened in one of our Q Cup games this year where it was horrendous. So yeah, it's just I don't. I disagree with a lot of the stuff they do in regards to some of the soft penalties. Not that one. I
What?
think you should not.
Yeah.
Don't go through his kicking leg.
What I found interesting with Serraldo is he said, "Oh, well, obviously Jerome thought it was a try because he got up and chased." But that's just the character of Jerome. Like if it was Mitchell Moses, and I got no problem with Mitchell Moses rolling around like Ronaldo if his leg's been touched because you're going to get the penalty. But that was the thing that Serraldo said. He said, "Well, Jerome obviously thought it was okay because he got up and chased for the try."
Well, those are the sort of comments that tell people to stay down, one,
Yep.
and have caused the game to start making decisions based on injury.
Hmm.
And look, Serraldo last night, to me, watching his press conference, looked like someone who
He's under pressure.
needed. No, I think he needed to deflect, and I think he's feeling like that the way to handle this in regards to the refereeing, because I mean we all know every team cops bad decisions. The way to handle it is by just bombarding through the media because he's been doing it a lot lately, and I think he's just going to keep rolling with it.
All right, we're going to go back there in a minute because I want to ask you a couple of questions about Benji's press conference. But let's go to there was a try in the ensuing set when the play was obviously brought back for the penalty on contact on Jerome, and then we go short side. I don't even know if it was last tackle, but Jerome puts a beautiful little short kick in. It bounces up on its point. Tito and Carraz collide, and then Skelton dives over. What did you see there in that try?
Again, good idea for down the short side. Take that option. We talk about Jerome's elite little kicking game. Puts the ball in the perfect spot. Tito was definitely onside, by the way. I've seen the still shot, and this is the crazy thing when we talk about, the bunker and all that sort of stuff. The bunker has access to much more camera work than us. If he was offside, they'd penalise it, especially with Ashley Klein against us. So anyone that talks about like Serraldo coming out and saying he was offside.
I don't
Like,
think,
how
Coach.
uneducated-
I don't think he was complaining about offside. He was complaining about Tito taking the fullback out. I just thought they collided and they were both looking at the ball and almost both overran the ball.
Well, I actually think Carraz went at him. So
Yep.
to me, immediately, I thought it's a shoulder charge to the head. Was my immediate reaction. But watching it on replay, I'm like, nah, just let it go. Like play on. But yeah, to complain about that, I think it's a bit petty. And I think you're going to ask me about Benji, aren't you?
Yeah, well, let's go there now because I just found that a little bit bizarre because I'm just putting my coach's hat on. We don't have press conference after grade cricket, Coach. It might shock you that, but I'm often thinking, the umpire gave us the wrong end of the stick, and I don't want to go in there and be Mr. Nice Guy. And Benji went in there, and he's done this once or twice before, and sort of said, we haven't got calls in the past, but tonight I thought we got a couple of lucky calls. And he actually said, Serraldo's probably in here complaining, and Benji said, that charge down, we got lucky and it should have been a try. Like that, I totally disagree with that. I don't know if he meant that or was just trying to be. What's he saying there?
I mean, I don't know this for a fact. To me, that was my level of pettiness. I reckon he knew that Serraldo was complaining.
Yep.
And when someone complains about something and you egg them on, I reckon that's what he was doing. I reckon Benji was being petty.
Not poking the bear, you reckon, or something?
No, I think he was like almost infuriating them even more by saying, yep, because he knew that nothing was ever going to change.
Yeah.
But what he said after that was where I thought he handled it really well. He talked about decisions and that it's happened to us as well. But what he said after that was, I'm not going to sit here and whinge and complain because I sit here and I try to teach these guys something else. So what he's basically saying out to the public and the referees, they all hear. I mean, the NRL watches every press conference. What that is basically saying is, our players will listen to you and they will follow the rules. So I thought it was just a little bit of massaging in regards to our relationships with the NRL and the referees, and saying we're not going to complain.
But some coaches go down the other path, don't they? Like Ricky Stewart and Trent Robinson, some of these guys, I'm sure they'll go in there, and it's easier maybe when you win, but it's often when you lose that you complain about the referees. They often try and send not so subtle messages that we're getting the rough end of the pineapple. Make sure next week you look after us, essentially. He doesn't go down that path much.
Eddie, referees are nerds, right? So, and they probably get their feelings hurt very, very quickly. You think referees don't watch press conferences? You think they don't have family that watch press conferences?
Ashley Klein would like to have his own press conference, I reckon.
Oh, 100% he would. But they would want 100% listen to all this stuff, and they would always sit there. It sits in the back of their mind.
Sure.
When they want to make a decision, they're not impartial because emotions are still there. They're still human beings. I guarantee you that's Benji's strategy around this. Whether it'll work or not is a different thing, but I think that's his strategy.
Well, we were talking about the Skelton try. Let's talk about Skelton's game itself, Coach, because he's been MIA a bit this year. He's been on the fringes, got on off the bench a couple of times, but I thought overall an impressive game, over 220 run metres. He did have that crazy moment where he threw that flick pass inside his own 20 and an error at the end, but Skelton's overall game?
I think what we thought he is. We just got lucky last night. He made 2 errors that could have cost us the game. I know
we've had young guys make 3 errors that could have cost us the game a few times, or have cost us the game against Brisbane.
No, yeah, but what I'm saying to you is it's consistent with him, and that's where I defend Benji in regards to Skelton. We look at all the the things, the output of his numbers, especially with his yardage carries. We've never doubted that. The reality is that the bad pass, the flick pass he throws. Jareem's, for example, pass is bad execution. Like
that floater
pass every other week. I think maybe something about his grip of his shoulder almost held the pass, whereas Skelton does it blind. It's a brain snap, basically. We've seen him do it. I think he did it against Newcastle.
That was the one in the in goal, which Makasini dropped and they scored.
I mean, if that ball bounces to their player and they catch it and they score, then there's the Tuala one at the end. We're only saying this because we didn't lose the game. If Canterbury score and it goes 22-all, we turn around and look back at that little chip over the top as a winger. The worst part is he didn't lose the ball into contact. He actually lost the ball as soon as he tried to catch it or just recover it off the ground. They're the parts of his game that you just cannot live with when it's so consistent. I actually have this conversation with a front row I have in my team. He's so good at carries. He does everything really well, but he's consistently making 2 or 3 errors a game in the play the ball. Those guys become unplayable. You can't go into a game knowing there's going to be 3 incomplete sets or 3 errors out of one guy. And that's what Jarrell's issue has been. And that's all it's got to improve. If he improves that, I reckon he's a mainstay in our team, but he's got to improve it.
So you're saying basically like 220 odd run meters and 2 tries doesn't override potentially 2 or 3 errors a game.
It doesn't override it. I mean, it's what his strength is. I mean, you've got to have some sort of a strength or some sort of an impact to be playing in the NRL. So they're the parts. I mean, if he didn't have that, he probably wouldn't even be in the top 30.
Is it any different though to someone like Fanua Pole, who he doesn't make 2 or 3, but he makes that one bad error in handling a game, and he had I thought a decent game yesterday.
I thought he had a really good game. Yeah, I think it does and doesn't. I think it's also the reason why you don't see him play as bigger minutes, and his minutes can fluctuate. But the reality is we probably don't have the same depth in our middle forwards as we have with our outside backs, or the level of difference between his good and his bad aren't as wide as Jarrell's are. So, yeah, I mean, you can make comparisons to some other players, but not everyone is exactly the same. But yeah, am I being a bit harsh to Jarrell, you reckon?
No, well, you've been consistent what you said all year, that Benji's maybe perhaps harsher on experienced players that make errors rather than younger players.
Yeah, I definitely think that as well.
Next set of 6, we actually get a high kick from Jerome, which Carraz fumbles. They're offside. Probably obvious, Coach, that you're a big fan of taking the points, that you take the 2 there and go up 12 with 20 minutes to go.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. I mean, that's a no-brainer for me, but yeah, it ended up being a really good decision in the end, didn't it?
What did you think of Queensland knocking the 2 back at 20 points to 6 up in Origin after 50 minutes on Wednesday night?
Mate, they're guys that play Origin. I'm not gonna challenge their decision in that situation. That was a pretty good answer, wasn't it?
Wrong decision, Queensland in the end when you lose by 2, I guess, but easy for me to say from here. Coach, with 11 minutes to go, Lockie Galvin makes it 22 points to 16. Scores from dummy half. Was that just Seyfarth and Tito just going to sleep a little bit there?
Yeah, that's clocking off, and that'll be addressed. Look, the reality is it was no try. I genuinely don't understand how they allowed that try where it's very clear that Galvin's hand comes off the ball. But hey, who are we to challenge the great Ashley Klein? But yeah, they'll address that football wise in review this week, because you can't be conceding those sort of tries. They're the sort of tries we conceded in those last couple of weeks.
I'll just backtrack a little bit. That period in between before Galvin scored, there were a few kicks there from Jock that went astray. One it was almost like, on the first tee where you duffed and you hit the divot, he nearly kicked his leg off. But was he in the wrong spot almost a couple of times? He got one dodgy pass from Appy, but it was almost like he was too close to the defenders and was put under pressure, because 2 or 3 times in games this year he's made kicks that either aren't going high enough or aren't going long enough.
Everyone's got their comfort zone, though, with that sort of stuff. So it sort of comes down to where he likes to catch the ball, where he likes to kick from. So, yeah, everyone's got their own comfort zone. It's one of those things they probably just got to improve on. There was one really bad pass, wasn't there? I think it was but I think that was the one, actually, that I was bewildered into how we didn't get a penalty for contact in the air on the kicker. So, yeah. Like I said, everyone's got their sweet spot kick-wise, where they like to kick the ball from and how wide they like to be. So, yeah, it's an individual choice, I reckon.
All right. Well, I don't know how you were feeling with 10 minutes to go, Coach, but I was reaching for the bourbon and Coke. But I actually thought the next 6 or 7 minutes we controlled it quite well. And it was only a Hail Mary, really, on the last tackle. I think it was Tuala went down a short side and Grubber and forced the error into Skelton, which made sure we were going to be under the pump the last few minutes.
Yeah. I love that we were under the pump, though, Eddie. I think it gives us a lot of confidence. I think that finish to the game was the perfect finish for us, because you take away so much out of that from a confidence perspective. I mean, we've shit ourselves, I'll use that word, quite a few times in the past. I know we don't talk about previous years, but we have in that situation. We've put ourselves under a lot of pressure. Last night was the most comfortable we looked. The Stafford Toa tackle was incredible. And then the tackle by Jerome.
Sorry, Coach, was that like just incredible read or incredible courage or just good technique? Because Crichton sort of got Cherry one-on-one there, and Bronson's a strong ball runner.
It was incredible, just effort, really. I mean, at the end of the day, you're in that position. They do a good job. I'm pretty sure Tino made a decision to jam. And the reality is Stafford had a right shoulder tackle to make, which has been his weakness. And he had to make a choice in that moment whether he was all in to make sure that with the game on the line, he was going to make the tackle, and he made it. It's actually that simple. It doesn't need to be anything more than that. It's one bloke in one moment, in one situation, saying, I'm going to tackle this bloke. I'm not going to let him score. That's all it really come down to, and he made the tackle.
When they do their video sessions on Monday and Tuesday, they would obviously point out things they want to improve. But is that the sort of things they'd point out as well, the positives? Like we mentioned Buller's tackle on Crichton, but there was also one where Madden stopped a raging Tupanua close to the line, and there was Luai when he grass cut Tupanua about 10 metres out. I think that was in that death time of the game.
Well, I need to be consistent, right, and give credit where credit's due. The one on Tupanua was actually Alex Seyfarth.
I thought it was both of them, Madden and Seyfarth. Might have been Seyfarth totally.
It was no. Madden was also in the tackle, but Seyfarth actually is the one that comes, that absorbs the big contact. Madden makes the contact. If Seyfarth doesn't make his, Tupanua still falls over the line. But it's Seyfarth that basically stops him in his tracks. So you've got to give him massive credit for that moment and that play. Look, confidence is a big thing, Eddie. It's massive in football, and that's I think confidence of who we had back and who our personnel were, and then obviously the start and the defensive efforts, especially early in the game, made a big difference.
I guess that absolute desperation, did that sum it up, Coach, that obviously the cavalry was back, but it looked like we were desperate and we really needed that win to stay ahead of the ledger, 6-5. It was never going to be pretty, was it? Like, I don't know what you felt going into the game. Like, some of these guys like Junior and Rob have been confident before games this year, not so much Rob, but Gary. But I think I was more hopeful last night and thinking, yeah, we got our players back, but can they all bring it in their first week back? But I was just so impressed and proud the way we defended our goal line there at the end.
I'm going to say the biggest takeaway for me from last night is this, is we know as long as we've got our spine, or three of our main four spine members, because Adam's not back, I think we're an incredibly strong football side. And I think that it just boosts confidence from everybody else around the group. And I think that, especially next week, Appy's not out against. So we're going to have Jerome, we're going to have Appy, we're going to have Buller against Penrith. We will compete much better than we have in those 3 weeks that we've had guys out, because obviously we've got Twali and those sort of guys out. But I think the confidence of having those guys will mean we'll compete a lot better. The reality is, and as much as Samuela is big for us, and I love what he does, to me, Adam is the last piece of the puzzle. And isn't it incredible we're saying that after sort of the last couple of years? And
he's been in the wilderness a bit, yeah, moving him all
he's
over
a bit
the place.
maligned, and poor fellow copped a bit of criticism here and there. The reality is, he's the cherry on top for us. I think last night showed that Jock Madden is it confirmed for me that Jock Madden is a fill-in player. He's a role player. He's a depth player, because he comes up with too many plays that are not first-grade level. And that, to me, is where we need that little bit of cherry on top to make sure that we are that team that we seen at the start of the year.
Just looking at the stats breakdown, is it a positive or a concern, or both, the fact that Canterbury won nearly all stats except the scoreboard? Like 53% of the ball, they had average more set distance. Obviously, they won the 6 agains that helped them massively. But I guess it's not a game. If you just looked at those stats, you would have thought we would have been in trouble.
The number one stat in the current game of NRL at the moment, completion rate.
We were not 89%, weren't we, I think?
Our completion rate was really, really good. And that's, to me, if you go back and look through our season, completion rate is what's won us football games. When we've completed well, we've been the best. We've been the best team in every game. And I think that's just what Benji taught when he talks about standards. I reckon that's the standard for us. It's what our completion rate looks like. It's how we respect the football. It's how we get through our sets. It's where we turn the football over. That's our standards. And when we complete well, I could hold me wrong to this, I think we've won every game this year when we've done that.
Okay. The forward pack, because we haven't touched on that much, was there a standout in the pack for you? Terrell and Pole punched out some long minutes and good numbers.
Twali, Terrell and Fanua were all outstanding. I actually think, and it's hard because Terrell and Twali put in bigger minutes, so obviously the impression they're going to give is always a little bit higher. I actually think Fanua had his best game of the year last night. You're going to ask me in a second about my points. He's in my points, to be honest.
Let's go there right now, Coach. 3, 2, 1.
Pretty simple for me this week. I thought Jareem Buller 3, Jerome Luai 2, and Fanua Pole 1.
Okay. I thought you were going to go Jerome 3, but Jareem ahead of him. Surprised me.
No, I think they equally had an impact for us in attack. I think defensively they were both really, really good. But Jareem's ability to control our defensive line and set our numbers put him on top.
Starting back, or not the starting back row, but just some of the other forwards last night. Seyfarth had some miscues out there. Sione, did he struggle on the edge? I know he got the HIA. Unfortunately, he'll miss last week. But were they two guys that were struggling at times with longer minutes over the past few weeks?
I can't really comment on what they've looked like the last couple of weeks, because the reality is we've been a different football side. Again, confidence in who you have around you makes a really, really big difference. And I go back to it. I just think having Jareem at fullback changes what our defensive line looks like. And I genuinely think it's that simple. Eddie? Can I just quickly, because I always put the comments up now. I
Go for it,
don't
Coach.
just watch it go. Our idiot mate Gaz, who's always on this stupid chat.
Yep.
He wrote, Madden looked decent versus the Dogs. Good kick that leads to a try. Played straight at the line, leading to tries, defended well, and linked with Luai. What more do you want from him? I'll tell you what I want, Gaz. I want when the game's on the line and we're ahead and we make a break, and when you kick the ball into a corner, you don't give away 6 tackles or 7 tackle sets. That's what I don't want. So that's what I want from him. Not to come up with the reserve grade plays like that. Kick the ball on tackle 3 where you've kicked it down the field just because you look like you're finding space, but you've kicked it to where Carras can pick up the ball and run 25 metres. There you go. You got me fired up, Eddie.
But
You got me fired up.
Coach, that was actually that was remiss of me not to mention. It was in my notes because that could have been the match sealer. We were up 22-10, and I think Jerome put Tito away, and it was a break, and we had him shot on the right, and if he had just executed that kick, Tavana had all the momentum, but I think with that sort of kick, you can't land it in goal. You've either got to land it a couple of metres short because Canterbury go up the other end and then have all the momentum the next 10 minutes.
Mate, it was the moment of the game where I lost my shit. It's a reserve grade play,
but it was the right kick, wasn't it? It was just the execution you're saying was terrible.
Yeah, but what you've got to when you put that kick in, right? You've got 3 options. Only 2 of them are acceptable. One is they catch the ball in the field of play. 2, we catch the ball and we score.
Yep.
The third one is unacceptable, and that's giving them a free catch in the in goal and 7 tackles set. It's unacceptable. That's the sort of play that puts you in reserve grade. And in that moment, can't be happening.
How do we deal with these problems for next week, Coach? I know you probably haven't had any time to think about it, but if Alex Twal is out with potential medial and Sione will miss it with the 11-day stand down, who do you put on that left edge and in the middle at lock?
I would go all out against Penrith. I would just play Latu at lock to start the game. I would sort of take the option of going all out attack against them and then maybe consolidate throughout the game. Left edge, you probably just got to go. Well, Benji has shown. I reckon he'll go with Tony Suka. It was interesting. He played Roberts against Manly, so he might go back there again. But yeah, a bit of a hard one to sort of predict. Who's the other one we lost on the weekend?
Makasini's shoulder potentially.
Yeah, so I mean, the presumption for me is I think Stafford's performance last night will probably boost a bit of confidence in his own mind and his coach's mind, and I reckon Benji will go back to him.
Right. I know this is not a Bulldogs podcast, Coach. You could say no comment, but I was trying to get Rob to I think Galvin's game, I don't know if it's regressed or it's gone backwards or if it's just stayed there, but, he made some pretty big comments 12 months ago saying that he didn't think Benji could progress his career. What have you made of his career over the last 12 months at the Bulldogs? Just because it's topical, I'm not trying to crucify the guy. It thinks it is, but he's a 20-year-old or 21-year-old playing in the NRL and doing a decent job. But what are you made of how he's played at the Bulldogs, and has he progressed under Ciraldo?
I'm going to say this, Eddie. In life, the way you treat people and the way you handle yourself, you get what you deserve. And the way he handled himself last year, I mean, Rob and I were at odds about this. I know for a fact it had nothing to do with his manager. It was a personal decision from him and the family to do and handle it the way it was handled. So we still have people out there that give him, the benefit of the doubt and talk about the fact that he's a young kid and there's all this. The reality is it was his, and he came out and said in an interview, it was his words. And I don't want to go back there, but like I said before, in life, how you treat people and the way you behave and the way you speak of people and the way you disrespect people, you will get what you deserve.
What about his football? What about his football itself this year? Because he's had some good moments for Canterbury, but do you think, like most people, he's not a number 7, he's more a number 6?
Oh, mate, that's one of those things where I sit there and I say he's a footballer that, and I said this when he was at our club, he's a footballer that, and I've seen a lot of them in the game for a long time. He's a footballer that I think I don't want to be too harsh, especially publicly.
What you're just saying doesn't make players around him better, sort of,
That's a good way of putting it.
potentially.
You know what? I'll just say it. I think he plays for himself, and I think he always has.
Penrith next week, Coach. Is it a free hit? We get the Panthers. Do we just go in with that attitude that doesn't matter if we lose this game because then we get the Titans and the Dolphins, or is it bigger than that?
No, well,
Of course it's bigger. That's just my fans' mentality.
If the Dragons beating the Broncos today doesn't teach us that rugby, there is no guarantees in rugby league. I don't know what will. Like, you know what next week is? Next week is an opportunity to turn up there and say we're gonna trust ourselves. We're gonna attack this game, and we're gonna put pressure on Penrith. And no matter how good they're going, I want to see how they can handle what we can do when we do it at our best. That's all you can do.
Speaking of next week being an opportunity, Coach, you coming down to Sydney next week?
No, unfortunately, there was a plan to be down in Sydney for the next couple of weeks, but yeah, unfortunately, I won't be.
Oh, that's a shame because we do get Penrith on the Sunday, so emotions will be high next week. Obviously, playing. I think it's. I don't know if it's 2 o'clock or 4 o'clock game. Hopefully, it's the 2 o'clock game, so I've got a bit of time to wind down. But what's on the agenda this week, Coach? Who are you guys up against this weekend?
There's a week. We've actually got our first bye of the year, so no football for me next week, which is really good. And we 2 away games. I think we go to Mackay and then Rockhampton, Central Coast, Queensland Capreds. So yeah.
All right. I know you don't like these hypotheticals or top 8 questions, and you'll just say focus on 1 week at a time. But what percentage chance are we of making the 8, Coach?
Of making the 8?
Yeah.
Oh, it's a hard one because at the end of the day, just like everybody else, injuries will dictate that. If we get everybody back and we don't get any more serious injuries this year, especially to our 1, 6, 7, and 9, we'll make the 8.
We'll make the 8. I hope you're right, Coach. All right, Coach, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Have a good week in sunny Brisbane, or it hasn't been so sunny, has it, the last week? Been raining.
Last couple of days have been good.
Well, if you change your mind and you get down to the studio, there's plenty of room in here because we're dropping like flies in the studio down here. Everyone's sick. So I'll be next, I reckon.
Maybe I'll definitely stay up here then.
All right. Thanks for listening and watching, guys. We'll see you on Claws Out Preview on Tuesday.